All right, the Reds, it's the preview show. Previewing Brighton v Liverpool, top of the league, Liverpool v 13th place Brighton, I think. I'll have a look now. It is 13th place Brighton. I've got with me David Lynch and Paul Cope to have a chat about this game, about what we're all thinking about it. There's been a little bit, Dave, to start with you. You work in the journalism industry. Because of what's gone on with the situation with the centre-halves, I've seen Liverpool being described as being in crisis this week. Whereas I look at the league table and I see played 21, 54 points, only lost one game, only conceded 10 goals, and I think, well, this is a decent crisis that we're in, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not all bad. I mean, back-to-back defeats feels quite unusual for Liverpool. Obviously,
first time since May, innit?
Well, exactly, and I think that gives a feel of crisis to a set of fans who've been treated pretty well this season. I think that's pretty much what it is. And then obviously these defensive injuries, but you're looking at the defensive injuries. They're not expected to last too long. This crisis they're going to come out of it basically the other side of the Brighton game, and then get back to winning ways there. And I don't think anybody will be calling it a crisis anymore, because it'll still be 4 points at least top of the league. So yeah, it's not too bad.
It's all right, isn't it? And I think what's interesting as well, Copey, is we kept hearing over Christmas sort of, oh well, Liverpool have been top before and then they blew it and all this sort of stuff. Well, by this point in the season, as in 21 games played, those previous 2 seasons that kept getting referenced, we'd already blew it. We already weren't top, but we're better off now being 4 points clear than we were then. So this is a different situation now. So we can stop referring to that. What I'm trying to say is we're still sound, aren't we? We're still all right. And Dave mentions back-to-back defeats, but there's the context of those back-to-back defeats. So one is to the champions, and it was only a narrow defeat. Yeah. The other one is to Wolves, having made 9 changes and put 3 teenagers on the pitch. So,
yeah, but how dare you talk about context?
I know.
And rational thought. Do you know what? I've been thinking a lot about this and the whole comparison with the past, and I think something Klopp does that I'm not sure Rodgers would have done this, and I'm not sure even Rafa, because I think in the past everyone's got carried away with the, oh my God, we haven't won it for 29 years, and Klopp, he is really philosophical and he's very good at it wasn't these lads. Yeah. It's got nothing to do with them. Like 13-14, cock up, that's got nothing to do with Bobby Firmino. Like he doesn't, I would go as far as saying they don't care. And I was even thinking about the 13-14 one especially. When you've got someone like Gerrard as your leader in that push, he feels the weight of history because he's been brought up in the city, he's the captain, he knows how much this means to everybody. But I think actually the advantage this time is there's none of that. The only Scouser is Trent. He's a really young lad. I'm not sure he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders yet. I'm not sure he walks into these games thinking, oh my God, I've got to win the league for Liverpool, and if I don't, that's the weight of history. So I think we've got a team of lads who are pretty much all, if you said to Virgil van Dijk, oh, I mean, what happened in 13-14? What happened in 08-09? He'd be like, I don't care, mate. Yeah. Like, they didn't have Alisson in goal. Like, even you can even just go as little as that. Neville mentioned this on, I think, a Monday Night Football a couple of weeks ago, and he said, I've never said this before, but Mignolet should save that one against Demba Ba. He should. And if that happens again with Alisson in goal, I was thinking about this. If we'd have had a better goalkeeper, we'd have probably won the league in 13-14 and won the European Cup last year. That's how small a difference it is. And we have now. We've got this amazing goalie who's huge. We've got Van Dijk. And we've just got I think we've got a team full of lads who aren't really bothered about the past and just know it is literally, well, we just need to beat Brighton. I don't care whether a B team got beat by Wolves.
And in the here and now, we can twist this round. There's quite a decent piece on the BBC about this today. It's basically saying, if we push all that away about the FA Cup and the City defeat and instead look at what Liverpool have done so far, only 3 top-flight teams in the last 113 years have recorded a better points total after 21 matches than Liverpool. That's recalculating all seasons to 3 points for a win as well. As I said, the leads Liverpool had at Christmas in 2008 and 2013 had already been lost by this point, so we're doing better than then as well. And in fact, the only previous Premier League season in which Liverpool had led after 21 matches was 96-97. Now, I'm not expecting you to remember that, but it was the mad season. Basically, like 3 teams tied on 68 points. So we finished 4th, but we're on the same as 2nd, and it was just a bit of a mad year, that one. I mean, but what I think's interesting is just sort of how you look at it, and all of this is about that really. And we are Liverpool fans, and we always say that, and we're obviously going to have a bit of a skewed perspective the other way almost. But what I think is, you know, you could almost say, like I've heard Rob Gutman says it a lot, he always goes, like, isn't it mad that we're this good and we're winning this many matches and our side's this good, and yet we've got City there and they're that good. And I'm like, yeah, but you can turn that the other way around, can't you? And it's interesting because this piece says, the 2-1 victory over Liverpool on the 3rd of January made City the first top-flight team to get 50 points from their first 21 matches and not be top of the league. Yeah. So, you know, there's City fans sitting somewhere in some corner when they're not obsessing about Liverpool, going, they're not going away, and they're still top, and we've beat them and they're still 4 points clear. And, you know, we've seen the predictable Fernandinho, they might bottle it, and it's hard being at the top, but you'd rather be at the top, wouldn't you?
Yeah, 100%. And I think, you know, it is that nagging down the back of a lot of Liverpool fans' minds is that Manchester City are there and that they are capable of probably winning the next 17 games in the league. That you know, and it's right to have that fear in a way because, you know, they haven't won the league in so long and you would be thinking about that. But ultimately, Liverpool have proved that they are, and I think this is one thing that I felt that they did need to show, is that they are better at one thing in particular, and that is defending. They are the best team in the league defensively. Yeah. We've seen that now. We know this. So unless that particular facet of the game collapses over these next 17 games, they should go on and collect points at this rate continually because they're so hard to score against. And that, more than anything, should give people comfort. I know that 4-point gap doesn't look too great and you'd have loved it to be 10 if they'd have won there or 7 with the draw. But this defensive record is the one that should stand out for people. That City game is the first time they've conceded twice in a game this season. And I just think, you know, looking at that, you've got to have a lot of faith that if this team stays that solid, they've got the firepower up front to win games, and that, you know, that is the thing that should see Liverpool through, I think.
Absolutely. We're going to talk a bit more about Brighton in the second half of the show. But before we go to that, we went to Brighton. Me and Sam, as usual, went on our jollies, if you like, went down to Brighton, had a look. Also, as well, the Brighton lads from the Brighton Cop have sent us a bit of video as well. So all that's mashed together in this little bit for the preview show now. So enjoy our trip to Brighton. Here we are then, we're in Brighton. I'm not going to go on the beach and have a big scrap, but I'm dying to. Look, we haven't been down here too much as Liverpool fans. The last 5 meetings with Brighton, one of those was at the Goldstone ground, and that is well gone. Brighton moved grounds or had a new permanent home only since 2011, so we don't know too much about this place. There's probably plenty of Reds watching who've never been down here, so it is a good away to do. Lots of good places to eat, to drink, lots of good things to see. We don't know about it too much, but the lads who live down here do. So we got the lads from the Brighton Cop to tell us what we should be doing on this trip to Brighton Hove Albion.
So I'm Benny Punk. I'm the founder and chair of the Brighton Cop, which is the official Liverpool supporters club for Brighton and Sussex. We've been running down here for about 4 years, and yeah, it's great. We've got about 700 members now, and things are looking good. So it's going to be a great place for Liverpool fans to come down. It's not even quite 5 years yet, and me and a few mates were going to various pubs watching the Liverpool games, and I think we just reached the point where we were in one particular pub and we saw there were sort of pockets of Liverpool fans around, but they weren't really getting together talking. There was no real sort of atmosphere except when when goals went in. So just a few of us got together and said, well, look, we should try and do something about this. And initially we just set up a Facebook group and just handed out cards to a few people we met. And then by the end of the first season, we had about 30, 40 people. And if I'm honest, I probably thought that would be it. I didn't have any idea how many Liverpool fans there were down in Brighton and Sussex. So it just kind of grew year on year. And then obviously we had the the Europa League run and the League Cup run a couple of seasons ago. And that's when it really started to take off. And we don't do any real formal advertising, it's all just sort of word of mouth. But it seems there are a lot of Liverpool supporters down here.
I've compared it to a wedding, a family wedding, where you turn up, everybody knows everybody, it's a good atmosphere, good crowd in. I love it. I mean, upstairs here, downstairs we've got the basement as well with screens. It's honestly probably the best place to go and watch the match.
lots of chanting, and the atmosphere is really great. And I think people who come for the first time, and obviously you'll remember this because you joined them not that long ago. People are kind of a bit blown away by it. They think they're going to come and just maybe there's going to be a handful of Liverpool fans, but actually it's a really fantastic atmosphere that we have. I mean, there's loads to do in Brighton. It's a very kind of vibrant, quite cosmopolitan city. I mean, I've been up to Liverpool a fair few times, and it's there's kind of a lot of similarities. There's a big music scene down here. There's a big kind of cafe culture. So I guess like any city, there's places to avoid, which like the main shopping centres and that kind of stuff, because it's a little bit generic and general. There's an area called the North Lane, which is lots of independent shops and cafes. Definitely recommend people go spend a bit of time checking that out. There's the South Lanes as well, which has got a lot of very kind of unique and different shops in it. Obviously, there's the seafront, so if you've got kids, there's the massive pier with loads of rides and stuff, and the kids will love that. And then in terms of things to do, other than hanging out in town and spending a bit of time there, we've got the Anfield Rap coming down to do a live show. We're doing a music event for the Travelling Reds on the Saturday night. We're actually doing a pre-match party event at one of the clubs, the Green Door store, before the game as well. So there's going to be loads to do, so I really recommend, because it is such a long trip, I think people would be mad not to try and come down for the whole weekend if they can.
Yeah, I would say get off the beaten track. It's very tempting to walk out to the train station and go straight down. There's loads of bars along that road, familiar bars that you'll find everywhere, the more commercial bars, but Brighton's famous for all of its independent pubs, and there's loads of very good pubs. Go to the left, go to the right when you come off the station and find those places.
Here we are then, the American Express Community Stadium, snappily titled, Bolton-esque in its construction and Bolton-esque in its positioning, in that it's in the middle of nowhere. It's right by the University of Brighton, but it's a little bit out of the city. So my advice on the strength of what I've seen and heard today is have a bevy and a drink in the city, and then come here when you can. There isn't all the advice is that there isn't much places to park here really. You're going to have to jump on public transport, trains, buses and the like. Brighton very kindly have produced an away fans guide, which you can read on their website, so do so in advance, work out how you're going to get to the ground here, because as I say, it's a little bit out in the sticks, but enjoy yourself in Brighton beforehand. The lads have given you a load of great advice there, and hopefully we're cheering on another great Liverpool victory at this stadium. So there you go, we had a great time in Brighton, and I am really jealous of the Anfield Rap lads who are going down there this weekend. Not only are they going the match, they're also doing a live show down there on the Friday night. If you fancy that, I think there's still tickets available. There might not be by the time this show goes out, but have a look, get involved, it'll be a laugh. The live shows are a laugh, and I imagine a live show in Brighton will be even better. There's loads of Reds down there, and obviously it's a bit of a trek. There's even a lad from Brighton down there. What a place Brighton is. Anyway, okay, we're going to actually talk about Brighton in this bit, lads, because we did talk about the Reds and City and the league and all that, which is absolutely fine. But we'll look a bit more at Brighton in this bit. Taking their last 6 is a bit of an indicator of where they are. They knocked Bournemouth out of the FA Cup in the last game. Before that in the league, they drew 2-2 versus West Ham away. They beat Everton 1-0 at home, which is a barometer or nothing because they're shit. They drew 1-1 with Arsenal at home. They're shit as well, Sam. And, and they lost to Bournemouth away in the league, and they lost to Chelsea at home before that on the 16th of December. Dave, what do you make of this as a challenge for Liverpool? I mean, the odds massively favour Liverpool. Chris Hughton's already spoke out and said it's one of those games where if we get something, it's a bonus. No one expects us to get anything, all those cliches. That could be something to do with the fact that, as a manager, he's still looking for a first point from Liverpool in 7, I think. But are you expecting Brighton to cause Liverpool any problems in this game?
Yeah, I don't think it's as easy as you'd maybe think for a team that's sort of in that area of the table, because they're quite strong at home, aren't they? I mean, they beat Manchester United there, but they were beaten by Tottenham and Chelsea, but only narrowly. Yeah. So made it difficult for them. And I remember the game there last year, where obviously Liverpool ended up tonking them, didn't they? Really, but it was it was a set piece goal, the first one. I thought before that it was a fairly even game up until I think it was Emre Can header. They have got the capability to cause teams problems, and they're quite physical. I mean, it's the sort of problem that Liverpool are probably better at dealing with these days in terms of the physicality. Glenn Murray up front, bullying defenders. You know, it's quite difficult to do that to Van Dijk, for example, but you know, not completely easy, not totally straightforward. I think Chris Hughton's an underrated manager, has them defensively quite well organised. So yeah, quite a difficult test, I think. And I mean, it's, in terms of it as well, the mental test of getting back on track.
Yeah.
But you know, we said about the players maybe not feeling it, but let's see.
Yeah. I mean, the home game against Brighton, we didn't sort of have it all our own way. It was a bit of a slog. 1-1-0, Salah scored, but obviously there was a great save from Alisson from Gross's header late on as well. So only a 1-0 there. And as Dave mentions, they are decent at home. I mean, if you look at the form tables and split it into home and away, Brighton are basically the 7th best home team in the league. Played 10, and it's a record of 1-5, drawn 3, lost 2. They conceded 11 goals in those 10 games. But Liverpool are the 2nd best team away from home. Played 11, won 8, drawn 2, lost 1, only conceded 7 goals and scored 22. So what do you make of it? I mean, we've got a decent record against them as well since they've sort of been up and about where we can play them. So, you know, the last sort of 5 as well, we won 1-0 at Anfield. Before that, we won 4-0 at Anfield. 5-1, as Dave mentions. Before that, we won 6-1 at Anfield in the FA Cup. And we beat them 2-1. We're going all the way back to 2011 there. So they're the last 5 games against Brighton. Unbeaten against them in the top flight. And also there's been lots and lots of goals, as I've just said there. Are you expecting lots of goals in this one as well, or...?
No, is my instinctive reaction to that. But if there are going to be lots of goals, it's only going to be in one direction, I would say. Obviously, the risk is we have got injury issues at centre-back. But then we did last year when we went there, as we know, and we still won comfortably. I think we've reached a point now, this team has reached a point where it's always just about us, I think. Even against Man City, our performance wasn't as good as it could have been. And if our performance had been as it had been a couple of weeks before, we'd have probably won. We did enough in that game to come out with at least a point. We lost on small margins. I think against teams like Brighton, we've already shown this season that it's down to us. And the players we've got, going back to what we were saying before, I think that's what they go in with, the attitude. We sort our performance out, we win, because we're better than them. And it all ties into the league campaign with talking about this game. It is probably more important than the City game, because it's the bounce back thing. And something I loved looking at the historic, I know we're going back onto the sort of old title charges, but 08-09, I remember this specifically. That was the year we went to Old Trafford and we won 4-1. And I went out in town that night with all the lads, and it was great. We had a great night. I was looking back over this for these shows. We won that game to go 4 points behind. And Man United, as Ferguson tended to do back then, just went, all right. And they just went on and won. They just won and won and won to the end of the season. They used that defeat as, we've lost the battle, we'll win the war. Yeah. It'll refocus us. And that's where we are now, I think. We've had that, yeah, it was disappointing to lose against City, but we're still 4 points clear, as Dave says, and it's all about us. So if we go into this game with the right attitude, the right mentality, with the likes of Alisson, Van Dijk, through the spine of the team, Firmino, Milner, even if he's playing, these are all lads who will just be like, it's just a professional performance today. These aren't as good as us. The other thing that's really comforting, which this is the thing I don't really get when people are talking about, City will just go on to win the rest of the games and we won't. We've played 14 teams outside the top 6 and won all 14 games. So all we need to do, that's the great thing about the next run of games. I think it's 5 or 6 against teams outside the top 6. Just go and beat Brighton. We've shown we can do it this season. This isn't a fluke. There's the rolling thing that Andrew Beasley does about what's the last 38 games rolling look like. And I think we're neck and neck with City after being beat by them. We were above them before that. There's no reason why we can't just go and win the next 5, starting with Brighton.
Dave is the Liverpool reporter for the Evening Standard, by the way, if you don't already follow him on Twitter and stuff. And what's the latest, Dave, in terms of the injuries around centre-half? Is it, as we thought, you know, that it's likely to be Fabinho starting? Yeah,
I think definitely for this game, it looks like Fabinho's going to get the nod there. I mean, it's actually not seemingly that bad news on Lovren. Apparently, he definitely missed this one, but he's possibly in contention for Crystal Palace, and that will be the case for Joel Matip as well, we believe. Joe Gomez a little bit longer, Leicester at a push, but then probably after that, realistically. Which, I mean, all this talk about signing a centre-half and whatnot, you could have a full complement of centre halves by early February, and 3 centre halves fit by the next game after this one. So I don't think Liverpool are in bad nick really in that regard. And I think as long as they get the 3 points in this one with probably Fabinho there, then that crisis has been averted in terms of the defensive injuries.
Do you think he might do anything mad, Kopi? I mean, we've mentioned the last time he went to Brighton, and obviously that game we saw Wijnaldum play in defence for the first time in his life, which was a bit mad, but we won 5-1. I mean, he could maybe do something like that in this game, or do you think it's going to be more a team that you're used to seeing, except Fabinho's just slotted in next to Van Dijk?
I think it'll be fascinating because there was talk that Henderson was going to play centre back, wasn't there, against Wolves?
Week, yeah.
So whether there was any truth in that at all,
that was just someone from the Telegraph speculating, wasn't it?
Yeah,
rather than it being
and that just factored into what Klopp was saying, wasn't it? That he wasn't going to play Lovren, but then Henderson pulled out, which sort of suggested. Yeah. So who knows what we'd have seen then? And if there are no fit centre, and this shows how much we've developed. We're talking about going into a game away from home in the Premier League with no fit centre backs, and I'm still really confident that we'll be fine. And that's partly because of Fabinho's performance the other night. In fairness to him, I think he was really good and really composed. I wonder if there is a chance that he'll do what he did last year, where if you haven't got pure centre backs, do you go 3 at the back? So you've just got a little bit more stability. You can play Fabinho in the middle of that and put more defenders around him. You can put someone like Henderson maybe in there and just a bit more security just in case. Maybe even just for the start of the game to see how it develops and see how they attack it. Because, if you're Chris Hughton and you see a team sheet that's got no centre-backs, they, as you said, they could have scored late on against us at Anfield and they could have equalised. So that'll give them a little bit of something to go for, won't it? So it depends how Klopp wants to approach that. You could go the other way and say, no, I tell you what we'll do. We'll have all the ball and you'll have to worry about us. So we won't really care about this end of the pitch. Maybe we'll sort of switch it a little bit to, we've turned into this really defensively solid, sort of pragmatic team compared to the old flamboyant heavy metal football. Or maybe you could switch and go, well, we'll just bat here. We'll just go at you.
Well, there was some criticism around the midfield, obviously, for the City game, and a lot of people, especially on social media, we always have to say that, don't we? Fuming about, that midfield and not wanting to see it again and all that sort of stuff. What would be your thoughts on what he maybe does with the midfield? Do we see Shaqiri in there and sort of what Kopi's going on about, sort of going for it midfield, or do we see that midfield which maybe lacks a little bit of creativity again? You
do wonder whether this is the game where he says, even for an away game and put Shaqiri in there to sort of say that, yeah, we are going to dominate the ball and try and, get in those little pockets and basically take the pressure off Fabinho if he is the one who drops in at centre-half and say, hopefully we'll reduce your defensive work by just going hell for leather. I think in an ideal world, he would have put Fabinho in midfield for this one, but obviously that's probably unlikely to be an option. So, yeah, maybe that's your other option in midfield there is because, Naby Keita's maybe just not firing at the moment as he's not at his absolute best. James Milner played that game against Wolves but was coming off the back of an injury, so, he's not fully there yet. So, yeah, I think possibly it's time for Shaqiri to get the nod.
Okay, just finish then off with you two with a prediction.
Dead hard to call. 3-1 Liverpool.
Okay, Dave?
2-0 Liverpool.
Sounds okay. We're going to finish this week then with Neil's look at the tactics that could operate around this game. It's Neil and the tactics board to finish. That's been the preview show. Up the Reds.
Brighton indeed, the next one, the biggest game, the centre of our universe, Brighton and Hove Albion away as Liverpool are 4 points clear at the top of the Premier League, a game that they will feel as though they must win and must also perhaps put an assured performance in against. What will Brighton do? Well, the first thing they will do is not pick the first choice goalkeeper. Matt Ryan is away in the Asia Cup, so it'll be David Button in goal, formerly of Tottenham Hotspur. Got him from Fulham in the summer. He played 20 games last season in the Championship for Fulham. They were happy to let him move on from the look of things. So there may well be a weakness there, although we've seen in the past that it doesn't take much for goalkeepers to raise their game against bigger sides, certainly if they start busy and stay busy within a match. Who else are we going to be looking at here? I think we're looking at them playing Montoya right back. I suspect he will start. It will be Duncan Duffy. They absolutely love a clearance, Duncan Duffy, in the top 10 in the Premier League. Stats for clearances. They love getting stuck in and all that sort of stuff. Left-hand side, I think they'll have Bong bubbling away in there. And then in the middle of the park, I think you're going to be looking at Stevens and Proper. We've seen that one before. I think on the wide areas, they'll definitely play Solly March. I think they'll probably play him off the right, though I could be wrong. I think it'll be Lacardia on this side. There's a bit of a question mark, really, as to whether or not he goes with Andone or Glenn Murray up front, centre fireworks for Brighton. I suspect if Houghton thinks Liverpool will not have their first choice centre-half partnership, that they may not have even two recognised central defenders. He may well go for Glenn Murray at home. Murray plays when they play against Manchester United this season at the Amex. He also plays against Chelsea earlier in the season. He got beat 2-1 against Chelsea. I suspect if they play Murray, they will play Pascal Gross. They'll want his delivery from set pieces and other aspects as well. They'll want him to be involved in and around. But they could go with Kyle and strengthen this. They played Basuma at Anfield. So I think we can probably say with a level of certainty what 8 or so of these Brighton players will be. These are the little question marks. There's also the thing that he won't be able to know properly what shape Liverpool will play, and he may well change his mind off the back of that one. There is also, though, Brighton themselves, this is not a must-win game for Brighton. They are in a comfortable position in the Premier League, and it may well be that Houghton might want to have a look at a couple of things whilst he has the opportunity to do so. There hasn't been a lot of consistency in selection given the FA Cup and the Christmas period, but I suspect it will be March. I suspect it will be Gross at home. I suspect it will be Murray from the start and give him 60 minutes and then go from there. And I think it probably will be Lacardia over here. Either way, it's a game Liverpool should win, a game Liverpool will feel as though they must win. It's also a game that won't be easy. Yes, last season we went there and we were able to score a number of goals, but we saw when they came to Anfield earlier this season in the 1-0. These have got really good players. They're very, very well organised, but they do have a couple of question marks up and down the pitch, and it wouldn't surprise me to see Liverpool give it a bit of old school stuff early going, have a few shots at that goalkeeper and look to be around his feet in the off chance that he spills something.